land area, 35% of the land, and we would have to add 2,500 more families living in 56 floors who would get a lion's share of the land because this is for sale, etc. So, that is what the density would then become. For the sale component, it's 175, but for the rehab component, it would be 750,000. So this is 3 times what the density in the slums. So this and this is the predominant mode of development now. So these are just some things of what would happen, wherein this is, all your sale buildings, which get all the greenery and the open space, and this is the rehab of the slums. And if we just do an exo of that, that's how it looks with, the sale people getting nice views, etc. And slum dwellers would live in units like this. And this is not something we've made up. We have seen developments like this over and over again. And so you may get a free home, but you give away, you hand over your health, and you hand over any kind of social infrastructure you may have. So this is just, what happens with the densities with the SRA scheme. Now, the SRA scheme was initially launched to build 1 million homes in 10 years. However, in 23 years, they barely built 0.2 million homes. Yeah, so the scheme isn't working. And in spite of that, we don't have any other game in town. So if we were to go at this rate, it would take us more than 100 years to build the 1.3 million homes. So you can imagine how, this condition would go on for another 100 years. So there's we know there's an urgent need for high hygiene. So what we recommend is another tried and tested option. We said that, can we look at community-led development of slums, and what would be needed to make this work? So we know that everybody aspires, basically first to get access to clean air, then water, sanitation, health, education, and participate in the economy. This is what everybody wants in every community. So we felt that a community-led development, would be a participatory approach where you would hear about the aspirations of people you're developing for. It would empower women a lot because they are the ones who are marginalized in most developments, because even when a slum is developed by a developer, it's only the men in the committee who talk to the developer, who also don't have much of a say. But in a participatory form, since everybody would have a say, we feel women's voices would be heard, and that's very important. Then there would be a prioritization of their aspirations and needs. We feel there should be a contribution, a financial contribution by slum dwellers. They should not get it free, but we have to look at what is affordable. So we've come up with a formula for that. We would need government incentives. And the government is actually kind of abdicated all its responsibilities towards housing. So even if they say, okay, we don't have money, but at least they should not make money, right? Presently, 25% of the cost of any development is actually the government making profits. So that the government needs to stop that. They shouldn't make money from the process. Then we need a corpus to maintain the property forever. There should be a direct control that the slum dwellers has on the entire process. They don't give up their control at any time. The timeline is also controlled by the community. They get an extra area, they get more area, and we show you, and I don't think in this presentation we show you how, but we have worked out. And they should be aided by professionals and NGOs. There's no role for a developer here at all. They retain their power of attorney. Right now in an SRA scheme, even though the slum dwellers occupy the land, the land rights only goes to the developer, which we feel is wrong. The land right should go to the slum dwellers, and this should also lead to creating further affordable stock. This should not be that you're creating sales stock, which is in the kind of mid-income or higher income level. So there's a four-pronged thing. It should be a thorough democratic process. There need to be government incentives. The families do contribute 50% of the cost, and the homes which are built some of the homes which are built for sale are affordable homes, only the same size as the slum, so 350 or 400 square feet. So we feel that if these four parts come together, you can have a development. So, each slum is different. People come from different places. The cultures are different. The values are different. The sources of incomes are different. The livelihood, they have a different. So each one needs to develop in a very different way. So we got this idea because we are helping several housing societies to redevelop on their own without a developer. So first step is really about capturing every member's need. So we have these workshops where we write down everything they ask for, anything and everything they may want. So they may want 200 things, and we make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. Then we take them through a process of prioritizing what they have asked for. So collectively they prioritize, and by the end of 4 to 6 hours, they have created a design brief for us. So we get their thoughts, we help them prioritize, and then by the end of it, we get a design brief and we know exactly what they want. So that's the democratic part of the process. Then the government, we feel, needs the statutory costs to come down, tax rebates, registration charges, waivers. These are all fairly standard things which we know that they can do. And the families living in slums contribute towards 50% of the cost of the construction, which works out to an EMI, if they get a 20-year loan, about 10,000 a month. We know some of the places, some of the slums, if you go to buy, you're paying 15 or 20 or 30 lakhs. So 10,000 a month, we feel, is fairly an affordable thing for a family. And if the government agrees to subsidizing the loans, this can come down. And then we're looking at a 3.5 lakh, 30 years, 6.5% interest. So we do have sale units to finance the rest of the project, but they're of similar typology. And these homes would then be sold by the government by a fair lottery system, fixed price, fee lottery system. So we're telling the government that you will get a stock of housing to put, very much like the Mahada right now has the lotteries which they sell. So by this process, the government would get housing to sell. And so we kind of worked out the financial model and saw how much we needed to build, what is the size we needed to build, how much we needed to sell. So, then we came up with these 5,000 families. We need to build now only for 500 more families. If you remember earlier, when it was a developer-led thing, there were 2,500 more homes you needed to sell. Here, it's only 500 more because the families have contributed as well to the construction cost. So we don't want it to be free. And the land area, they keep 100% of the land area. And the type of houses we build is the same as what we are doing for the people living in the slums. So they don't feel like they've been marginalized in any way. And then you have enough space for other amenities like a school or a community halls or religious structures and RG. So you can end up with buildings like this, which are varying in height, where the terraces are also used. So we've got courtyard that are proportionate, buildings at varying heights, there are podiums at varying levels, and you've got cross ventilation going through the common areas. So you'll find, fundamentally what has happened is that the SRA leads to a density of 750 people, so that really can't be helped because of the way the model is. But if you do a community-led, it's slightly more than the density of the slum, but because you've gone up to 15 floors maximum, so these houses are between 10 to 15 floors, um, so you manage to free up a lot of green space. It's a little more organized. PK Das has done some developments of this kind. The density there is a little less, but similar to what he's done. The inspiration really is from his work. Um, so it is very much possible to do this and avoid the 750 people per square kilometer density. And then, you could, the design principles you would follow is, walkable communities, um, integrating nature into the projects in various ways, have mixed use, because most of the slums, they have income generating activities within the slum. So when you do the workshop, you incorporate those into the plan, um, and so retain the character of the place. So you end up with a fairly sustainable community, which is economically sustainable because you've got money in the corpus now to maintain it forever. So the interest from the sale is now going towards future maintenance. You've got environmental sustainability to the extent you can, and then cultural as well, wherein you've got fairly identifiable neighborhoods and sense of belonging in each of the neighborhoods, as you saw in the designs. So, this can be the character where you've got, podiums, you've got rooftop gardens, you've got gardens on the ground. So these are the various green spaces that we can have, and have usable spaces. So if you see, what the benefits are, you've got increased unit size, improved standard of living, maximize daylight and ventilation, safety for all, eyes on the road, equal share of open space, social amenities provided as per the norms. In SRA development, they really dilute a lot of that. Here we are saying all the open space laws, etc., which is for normal development, should be followed because it should be the same for everyone. Better quality of construction and maintenance because it's being maintained. The entire process is being led by the committee who will be heading it from the slums. And it promotes the development of every individual because they will all have a say in this and have to collaborate with each other. We see the participation of an NGO very important here to make sure that the collaborative processes that need to happen over here. And so these are some of the things that can happen. This is close to this. This is the site Wadala, where that can become that, where this can become this, maybe greener. Just some of the transitions which can happen. So just some of the photographs from the slum we took, and what could happen very easily with the participation of the people. And yep, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think it's very important to understand how to provide equal spaces for everybody in Mumbai, because there are these two huge extremes, which are right now currently residing in Mumbai. I would definitely like to speak to you more in detail about the equal sharing of open spaces. But before that, I'd invite Pranav to come and give his views on how Mumbai can make a green recovery.
Hello.
Hi, Pranav.
Hi. Can you see?
Yes. No, no, no. We
Uh,
not yet.
you can't see. Hang on. Okay, now
Yes, I can see it.
you can see the screen now.
Yes, yes, it's clear. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. Hi everyone, and thanks Shilpa and Rahul for kind of setting the mood and explaining what the problem is, as well as what could be the role of the government and the people in how we could work with Mumbai in the future. Um, I'm starting this the presentation with sort of this like wide view of Mumbai, and like Shilpa had shown earlier, it's like it's a pretty picture generally. You won't really know if it's like downtown Bangkok, or is it Mumbai, or is it like Hong Kong. But the thing is that there is so much so much of a mess lying right under this. Right under that, we have this huge disparity, and that causes a huge detriment to the quality of life that each one of us leads. Some people live under plastic sheets like this in the monsoon and in other seasons as well. Others are forced to live in places like this. This is what Rahul had just spoken about, and this is Mahol. If you're not aware of this place, and right behind the housing development, the SRA development here is the BPCL refinery, which is causing people who live here to die. Anyone over 65 has died out there. It's terrible. You cannot expect anyone to live in environments like this. Um, while others, even in better situations, live in precarious environments. Every day is a fight for survival. So in all of this, how are we supposed to look out for anything else? The survival of some fish in the sea, or birds in RA, or crabs in the bay are barely in our field of vision. We don't really see that as our problem because we have to deal with this. Um, on top of that, our elected representatives are of no use. They're kind of like sitting on top of these problems, leading to the majority of the population having nowhere to go but to stay stuck in their struggle for survival. Now, when we started Studio Pomegranate, we were looking at how to make a change to our immediate environment. Really, it was basically only Lower Parel, Worli, Prabha Devi. It was around our studio. Like, what is it that we can do? And the big things were sort of out of our purview, out of what we could do. But we were like, let's tackle the small things and see what are the small things that we can fix. So we looked at roads and footpaths. Now, 1.5 crore people walk to work every day. That is nearly everybody in Bombay is a pedestrian. Now, that said, even somebody who uses a car or uses any other mode of transport is also a pedestrian, because at some point you will walk. So we said let's look at the pedestrian systems in Bombay, and let's see how we can improve that a little bit at least. So we kind of look back at what was there before. There is a 20th century surface laid by the British at some time with the Ladi, Shabad Ladi on the ground in an open space in the BDD Chawl. And this was 5 years ago, where the paver blocks are broken. So even 100 years later, that surface somehow didn't break, and this did. Um, so that brings us to the first project I'm going to show you, which is a footpath at Prabha Devi. It's a small space. It's about 120 meters outside the Motilal Oswal building. It's a pretty generic footpath. It's a bit wide actually compared to other parts of the city. But it was terrible. The paver blocks were uneven. People used to trip and fall. There was no way to get on and off. Uh, and that's what we did with it. We improved the surface. We increased the green spaces in it. We made space for the roots of the trees so that they get water and they get space to expand and increase. We made lighting for the footpath also, and not only the road. We just made the whole space a lot more interesting so that people walk on the footpath and not on the road. We improved the surface to an extent that it is, I mean, it's really good. It's really good even right now. The utilities were given their own space with a method to pull them out and put them back in if there's a need without damaging the surface outside. The bus stops were also properly calibrated. We had designed new bus stops, but that wasn't allowed by the DST. Um, and so coming to how we did this, there was a footpath, like every other footpath in Bombay, or broken. There was an interested party, that is Motilal Oswal, who was interested in the improvement of their footpath, publicity for themselves, and some corporate social responsibilities or taxes that they can save. They asked us to design it and go to the BMC. So the BMC was more than happy to let us do it because they were getting some free publicity. Now, and that led to the footpath. In the process, we found out there were these professional RTI activists who will stop everything. There were politicians who will stop everything. There was the local mafia who will stop everything and ask you for 5,000 rupees every day. There was the other MCGM departments who had some ego battle with the previous MCGM department, and they would stop us from working because they didn't want that to happen. But anyway, at the end of it, we were on the cover of a newspaper with that headline that, look, BMC, you're the footpath you should replicate across Mumbai. Now, that led in a month, the BMC did this to all their footpaths. They came in a car to the Motilal Oswal footpath, they saw it, and they left and they started doing this all over A Ward. Now, it's a square paver which is falling apart just like all the other pavers. So there wasn't much of a difference between what this was and what they had before. Also, it wasn't what we have done. Anyway, I'll come back to that in a bit. The second project I'm going to show you is a street. It's the Tulsi Pipe Road at Lower Parel, which is the road outside Phoenix from the chalk ahead to Deepak Cinema. And here we have an urban zone. And the interested parties here were all the people who are around, or are actually, they're not work. They are all around. There's the banks, there's Phoenix, there's HDFC, there's the Lodas, there's all the residential buildings, etc., all of them. And same thing, the BMC still wants free publicity. So they want to know that, they want us to say that they've done it, and but we pay for it. And the interested parties as well have the same benefits to reap, which is the improvement of their space, publicity, and CSR benefits. This time we were a bit more aware of all the riffraff and the trouble that we would get. So we decided to box it in. We got them all together and we asked the local mafia to stay out of it. So we kind of made this into a system that we worked around. And this is the project, which is some pedestrian infrastructure at Lower Parel. It was a stretch under the bridge at Lower Parel where there was a lot of illegal parking. There's office buildings all around and a couple of residential buildings. That's what it looks like. It used to be a dirty space. There was just parking. There were people peeing all over the place. There was some sort of like flower business going on in there, and it was quite nasty. That's the road on the two sides, and there was a U-turn in between. This U-turn caused a lot of traffic jams and a lot of trouble. There was only two places for pedestrians to cross. Now, this whole thing was a big mess. So we were like, let's see how can we improve that. So we moved that U-turn one bay to the right, and we increased the number of pedestrian crossings, thereby also letting pedestrians walk in the middle under the bridge. So now pedestrians had more space than they had before. We gave some amenity space so we can have toilets, etc. We improved the traffic flow. There's been no traffic jams there after that. in only this particular spot, not the other parts of Lower Parel. Um, and then there was some taxi union problems. They wanted some taxi stands, so we accommodated that as well in the whole thing. And that, we just kind of like covered the whole thing. Now that's the comparison between what you had before and what we've done with this space. I'm going to show you some images very quickly. This is what it was: cars parked everywhere, little jhopadas, all of that. And now there's space for people to come enjoy themselves. There were people walking through it, but they had to dodge the cars and walk through. But now it's clear space. It's clear open space. There's benches inside. You can sit and you can wait for a taxi. You can sit and do nothing, like this. That's what it looked like. This is what it looks like now. It's all well lit up at night, and it stays lit 24 hours. It's never closed. It's always open. Um, we've got lots of plants to buffer you from the road. And the taxi bay, these are all images just before it opened. Now, after it opened, what does this free open space do for people? You get some space for respite. You can just come and sit. This is in the middle of an office day, and people have come out of their offices and are just sitting there comfortably. You can have a conversation with people who you've not met. You can bring people from around. In the evenings, this man comes every evening and plays this an instrument. He plays 2 or 3 different instruments, and he brings his laptop and he works there sometimes. He comes every single day. Kids are playing cricket every day. There's cultural events going on. There's like music events that happen inside that. These boys, they come and they do parkour and BMX riding, skateboarding out here. They are from slums and they are from Chawl. So they're coming here and doing something that they didn't have any space to do before, and they're getting a safe space to do so. This is an average day under the bridge in the evening at about 7 p.m. Residents playing some badminton, someone just sitting and talking. A lot of people just sitting every day, all throughout the day. The taxi union was very, very happy. They inaugurated their shared taxi stand, and that yeah, that's what it looks like. And this is what the taxi stand on the other side looks like. It's way more dangerous. There's no space for anyone to get off, or there's no space, any sheltered space for anybody to get in and get out of those taxis. During the lockdown, a lot of people were distributing food under the bridge over here. And we are constantly liaising with the authorities, with traffic police, with the NCGM, with the chief minister's office, trying to get this model to happen everywhere in the city. They call it the Lower Parel model, and they've been trying their own versions of it. But we're kind of like explaining to them that let us look at it at least cursorily, and then you can do the rest of it. But we'll see how that's going. Now, coming back to the model of how you build something like this, that was that complicated diagram that I showed before, and removing the professional RTI activists and the local mafia. We started thinking like, what if we even remove ourselves? And what if we even remove the interested party? That only leaves the NCGM or the government to take their responsibility. All this while, the government has not taken responsibility for anything that they're doing. No fiduciary responsibility, nor actual responsibility for anything. People are paying for this, and people are doing everything themselves. So the government takes the credit at the end and says, "Oh, we did it, great." But that's not how it should work, because that's a problematic situation. So what if we just remove ourselves and we are all there? We're obviously there to help, but we're not there as part of the solution. We're there as an addition to the solution. We can improve things. That is a much better model, and that's the support model. We have been pushing this support model with the government with the BMC for years now. For all the 6 years that we've run Studio Pomegranate, we've been pushing this agenda that we don't want to do this work. We want you to do it. We will help you, but we want you to do it. However, that doesn't always happen. Now, coming to the economics of it, what we have done is consistently been at least 30 to 40 rupees under 30 to 40 rupees per square foot under the BMC's budget, and it's much better quality. That said, let's just take their budget. We've got 2,000 square kilometers of road, 4,000 kilometers of footpath, that many square meters of footpath, and into 5,000 rupees is what their budget is, which gives us about 6,000 crore, which is only 2% of MCGM's budget if they spread it over 10 years. It's really not that much. If they can spend as much as they are on the coastal road, I don't think this is too much of a difficulty to make life better for the whole city. Now, coming to that life again, there was a few years into this project. We've designed a bunch of things around, and my partner Shweta and I were here one night at about 2 a.m. and we were looking at what was going on under the bridge. So there were these boys who were dancing, and we asked them, "Why are you dancing here?" They said, "We come from Kurla, we come from Kolaba, we come from Powai, and we dance here every night because there's no other place in the city where we can dance after college, school, tuitions, all of that is over." So I said, "Wow, that's amazing." So they are actually coming from far away and coming all the way to Lower Parel to dance. There are 6 troops like this, and they're on our Design Crowds page, where we're trying to help them as much as we can through YouTube, etc. Just getting them to be a little bit more famous. But it's amazing that there is this dance. So we started this thing called Design Crowds, which is a way to show the public how to participate in your democracy. So we need to do some research of our own about how will things improve. How do we create awareness for people around us, the people who are not at this webinar? How do we design and innovate, and then empower and engage everybody around us, and take all these engagements to the politicians, take it to them and tell them that this is what we need, because we have to demand it from them. We cannot expect them to do things on their own. That brings me to this. I love this image. It's the defenestration of Prague in 1618, where the people of Prague threw their politicians out of windows. So they happened to throw 3 politicians out of their windows, which I'm not saying let's do something that violent, but I'm saying let's look at it as a metaphorical window. And if we can see how we can throw lots of things out of the window, we have to throw our policies, old systems, outdated ideas, and change the outlook of our leaders towards the populace. Right now, we are like those 3 people at the back who are bystanders in the room. They're just cheering. They're not actually pushing these guys out. We have to be that, and we have to do some movements for that, for this. There are good examples of this, like RA, which last year was going nowhere. Even in June this year, it looked like the Supreme Court was not on our side, which it probably isn't even now. But yet in August, we've made a pretty big achievement with 600 acres of land reserved. The coastal road has been a big fight since 2015. So what can we do about it? We have to all work together, and it's only when we all work together that we can make a change. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranav, for such an insightful presentation, what I would say. And one of my major takeaways from here is to create more open spaces, create pedestrian-friendly roads, which right now at the moment Mumbai lacks a lot. And one more point which I really liked was your mention of the fact that, and even throughout your presentation, that it is a combined effort of everyone. No, not one person or one individual or in one organization. It's not just the government's job, it is each and every person's job. So on that note, we have with we are currently collaborating on this project
Looking
with
forward.
another partner of ours. They are from civis.vote, and they are trying to promote open spaces. So for example, I think those young boys who come all the way from there to dance under this open space, they would have loved it if there was a garden somewhere closer to their home, or an
Yeah,
open space which they could
absolutely.
utilize completely. So I'm just going to share the link on chat over here for everyone, so that you can make it's like an online consultation that civis is doing currently, and we definitely love for each and every one of you to identify and tell us what do you want your Mumbai to be like. Here's the link. Okay,
Thank
now
you.
thank you, Pranav, for such a nice presentation. Now, you'd be surprised, sir, that there are a few others as well currently who, have done some really incredible work. A lot of students, not a lot, but quite a few students, architecture students, are now looking at the sustainable development more and more students are looking towards that. So we try to identify, and we have downlisted 8 submissions, and I'm just going to share the screen and display their names. 8 of these submissions have been selected. Their ideas will be shared, their vision for Mumbai basically will be shared across on our pages. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to increase the size a little bit. Yeah, okay, so this is just one. Okay, so here are the 8 names. Aditya Hazare from Trivia Institution, Akruti Merhekar and Apurva Agrawal from School of Planning and Architecture, Bhopal, Anirudh Madhav from, again, the same institution, Avinash Kaur from Dr. D.Y. Patil College of Architecture, Navi Mumbai, Burgess Driver from CEPT Ahmedabad, Deepshika Bhattacharya again from School of Planning and Architecture, Bhopal, Kamlesh Gade Pillai and Pranav Anyal from Pillai College of Architecture. So these students have given some excellent, submissions, out of which I don't know if it has something to do with the name, but we have with us Pranav Anyal, who will now make a presentation. And what I think this project, why it stood out, is because it spoke about creating economic value in ecologically sensitive areas. Pranav, I would like you to take over, please. Can you turn on your camera and start with your presentation? And we'd appreciate if you could wrap it up in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, all. And I will just share my screen. And is my screen visible?
Yes, now I can see it.
Okay. So, hello everyone. My thesis focuses on the conjoint model for tourism development and community involvement on ecological rich area of Gorai and Manori. So basically, this area is being near to Mumbai. It has got immense pressure of development from MCGM as well as from the other governing bodies like MMRDA. So
Pranav, can I just interrupt you for a moment? I can see two slides. Can you close the smaller one on the right?
yes.
Is there a way? Just maximize the screen so that everyone can see it clearly.
Is it fine now?
Yeah, much better. Thank you. Please
Okay.
proceed.
Okay. So in this presentation we will cover the site context and data collection need for proposal, the concept of ecotourism which I have used for this coming up for the proposal, and the final one is the proposal. So looking at the location context, where is the site of Gorai and Manori? It is basically the northernmost portion of MCGM boundary, planning boundary, and because its proximity to Mumbai, it has got immense pressure for development. During the you can see that there have been many proposals. There have been many proposals given on this particular land parcel from the British era itself. There was an airport proposed over here, and then there was the SL World was open for public, and then in 2006, the tourism SEZ was proposed over here, but locals have opposed each and every proposal over here, and that actually they had opposed SL World too, but they were assured that they will be getting job opportunities and electricity for each and every household. So that's why they agreed for it, but eventually they have opposed the proposal of SL World. And recently they have recently RoRo connectivity was proposed for these two land parcels. As we can see, the only road connecting this land parcel is from the Bhinder, from the Mira Road, and which takes around 31 kilometers and 40 kilometers respectively to reach Manori and Gorai. So getting this connectivity, there's a possibility that development will trigger on this particular land parcel, and which might lead to haphazard development. So the thesis focuses on having a controlled form of development and preserving the ecology over here. As we can see in this particular map, that the area is filled with the natural features. Almost 86% of the land is under the natural features, and 14% is under the built up, in which almost 43% is under wetlands. So we can see the large chunk is going under the mangroves. The communities residing over here are East Indian, predominantly are East Indians and Koli communities, which are self-efficient, and their primary source of income is from fishing, agriculture, and boat building. So these are the primary income on which they are sustaining, and they are self-efficient. So very few people are dependent on Mumbai and other areas for getting their daily wages or for getting the jobs. Looking at the land ownership, most of this area is coming under the government ownership, which is a plus point, so that the government can utilize it to the fullest, and which can be and most of the area is under the mangroves. We can see over here that the whatever land is coming under the government is under the mangroves over here, and this is a CRZ map. So 81% of the land on the total of this total land parcel is coming under CRZ. So very few chunk of land is left for development. So people have started encroaching all the mangrove land by filling it, and which is a bit of concern, and that's why the thesis focuses on conserving these land parcels over here. So looking at the SWOT of the area, I will not go through each and every point, but I have summarized it. And so from this sort, what is the need for the proposal? So uh, there is a connectivity of RoRo, and there is a fear that more vehicles will be coming on this particular land parcel. So in order to restrict the vehicular movement, what can be the opportunities? And proposal of RTZ, that is Recreational and Tourism Zone, was proposed by MMRD in 2014. So that has, and the tourism SEZ proposal from MMRD, that has already led to the haphazard tourism development and on this particular land parcel. So we can see the bits and so we can see the development coming in bits and pieces and scattered form, and there is the beach edges or the agricultural lands are being converted into resorts, and that kind of uh, problems are seen over here. So taking the concept of ecotourism, so ecotourism, the concept of ecotourism, it focuses on conservation, that is conservation of ecology, communities, that are the local communities, involving them into tourism and the related activities. And as being a tourist, how to be a sustainable, how to do a sustainable travel. So this is a form of matrix which has been derived for the same, and in which we have I have jotted down the parameter. What are the parameters on which I'll be focusing? Who are the stakeholders for the same? Then what are the measures under? What are the scope which is coming under tourism promotion? Where and then what are the scope coming under as an urban design intervention? So based on this matrix, this structure plan has been derived for the whole land parcel. Looking at the proposed road connectivity, all the missing links were joined, and then the land parcel was divided into zones because the ferry routes were from the Gorai ferry route and from Manori ferries. So the connection of the Roro was coming from these two ferry routes. So I wanted to restrict the movement of the vehicles over here up to this, and this area, the highlighted into yellow color, that area was a no car zone, but which can be accessed by e-bus, cycles, or horse cart. Yeah, yes, the horse carts are the common modes of transport over here till date. Even today, we can find the horse carts over here. And there were some of the natural features like hillocks over here, which were completely no car zone, and they were accessed only by a trail or a hike. Then looking at the proposals for mangroves, basically providing facilities for mangrove tours by kayaking or boating, which will be accessed from the existing ferry route. So there is no need of building a new terminal for these particular activities. Then building mangrove eco resorts like this, so which will give the different kind of experience to the tourist over here. Then providing mangrove institute and mangrove park, so that the tourist will be to educate tourists about the importance of mangroves, and giving the age guidelines for development along the mangroves, which is like what can be the if you are proposing some structure right adjacent to the mangrove land, then what kind of development should be what kind of guidelines should be followed for the same. And involving locals in tourism activities, like there are Adivasi padas over here, and they are currently doing fishing and small scale activities in mangroves. So involving them and nurturing their talent and using it in form of tourism. Then looking at the agro-based ecotourism, being so close to the Arabian Sea, we can find many freshwater sources, wells, lakes, and other water sources over here. Uh, so the proposal focuses on providing a pedestrian realm around the freshwater sources, which will be passing through the farmlands, which will which will be on the bund itself, so it won't hamper the waterlogging of the farmlands, and giving a different kind of experience to the tourist about how the farming activities happen. And uh, then there was one more proposal of introducing woofing concept over here. Woofing is a popular concept all over the world, but it isn't practiced at a full scale in India. So that can be used. So basically, woofing means a working weekend on organic farms. So being close to Mumbai, Mumbaikars are always excited to do some offbeat activities on weekends. So this concept will definitely boost the tourism on this land parcel. Then looking at this, the looking at the structures over here, uh, there are many unoccupied structures. So you can see that these structures are unoccupied. The owners over here, they stay in Bandra or in the town side, and they just have their weekend home over here. Not exactly weekend home; it is like a village for them. So these structures are shut for most of the time throughout the year. So there can be an adaptive reuse over here, and which in which the incentives can be given for such for if we are giving you a structure for some community activity uh, or for homestays and other things. And if and there can be
Pranav,
policies.
sorry to interrupt you. We are a little bit tight on time.
Okay.
Can you wrap up your vision for this entire project in like 2 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm almost done. Just one slide is left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. So basically, then at the street level, there can be a pocket parks uh, which can be proposed over here, and giving the characters to the streets which are going towards the beach edge. And these are the proposals which MMRDA was proposing. So MMRDA was proposing road along the beach. So uh, and these are the existing scenario over here. This is what MMRDA was proposing, a road, and this is what I was proposing. This is that there can be a pedestrian rail instead of road. And similarly, there is a boat building industry over here. The MMRD was proposing a road over here. So there was a total disconnect between the beach and the boat building industry. So then over here, then there are fish drying areas over here, so which can be opened up for the tourism, as people are always interested in looking for all these activities. Like boat building can also be open for the tourism. And yeah, so in this way we can uh, so basically on the ecologically rich area, we can promote tourism, and it can be a win-win situation for both the parties, that is government as well as for the locals. So
Thank you so much, Pranav. Sir, Rahul sir, Pranav, Shilpa ma'am, we would love for you to give feedback, but because we are kind of running a little tight on time, we will connect over email. But right now, before that, we will ask Anirudh to give his presentation as well before we start for our Q&A. Hi, Anirudh.
Hello, hi. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Hi. I can see your, no, I cannot see your screen as yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm audible, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just request you to give your vision of this entire place in like 5 minutes?
Well, Farah, I'll just take 10 minutes of time. That's it. Like, I'm not going to be
No.
exhausted.
The thing is that we want to have a little bit of discussion. A lot of people are sending in questions as well. So
Okay.
I please request you to wrap it up in 5 minutes, please.
Okay.
Yeah?
Well,
Sorry.
okay, then we'll directly go. I'll just quickly brush out to my slides, and then we'll quickly go to the
Yeah.
visions. So yeah, those were the slides were explaining the morphology about around the Mithi River or the Mahul Creek, and the overall situation of the flooding that city has to go through that every year, and then what will be the solution that can solve and resolve the issues. Now, if you see that the major of the chunks or the major areas around the river are usually occupied or the encroached by slums or industries, and then these industries and slums are actually discharging a lot of solid waste into the river, and these are actually hampering our ecological systems. So the main idea was to consider riverine system as to be recognized as a prominent edge expressing coexistence of man and nature, where objectives were to integrate communities with urban nature, then formation of ecological and mobility networks, forming diverse public realm, then restoring the historical context of the cities. Like if you know that there are a lot of forts along the Mithi River, which are not under the notice of any people. So that can be restored, and then historical context can be revived. Then taking urban nature into cities visible spectrum, that is one of the important issues, that the lot of urban nature or the ecological systems are not visible for locals or for any city resident. So taking urban nature into cities visible spectrum is one of the key objectives to create ecologically sustainable cities. Then restoring the values and add new values to river and system is another one of the key objective. And these objectives will eventually will try to create coexistence between the rivers, and then uh, river system can be recognized as a prominent edge. So that's what the vision was actually about. So yeah, over to you.
Pranav, I'm so sorry, and thank you so much once again for helping us wrap up. I will very definitely, most definitely, connect you with the panelists over email, and we will have their feedback on your presentations. Before that, I would request you to now stop sharing your screen so that we can see the panelists. Rahul sir, we are living in a city which where we are actually supposed to be living, the amount of space available per person should have been 10 square per meter, but we are living at 1 square per meter. We're living in a city where there is a consistent disparity at all levels. How do you see as the gap that exists, the bridge that exists between the different working classes across Mumbai, between the different classes? How do you see that, as kind of, contributing towards, what are the repercussions of the people living in spaces like this?
Well, we
Anirudh,
know.
sorry, sir. Anirudh, you're still sharing your screen. Can you stop sharing your screen, please? Anirudh? Uh,
Yeah, yes, Farah.
can you please stop sharing your screen? I can still see your screen.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. So what are the
Yeah.
repercussions of Mumbaikars living in such
Yeah,
small
no. So
cities?
we all know that. So we all know the at least people living in slums and SRAs, the incidence of tuberculosis. One in every 10 person living in a slum has TB. The skin diseases, safety for women. So if we don't address these issues, we the development of citizens and the quality of life that citizens can aspire towards gets hampered in a tremendous way. And we've seen from Pranav's work that a little bit of space is given, and how it flowers and how it's used. So we're just so starved. I mean, there's so many expressions that people have to give, that they don't have any space for. It's like the musicians who come there and the dancers who come there and the people who come to play. So you can imagine how much is stunted because of this. because this lack of space. Yeah.
Okay. We have a question here from Padmaja Chakravarti. Padmaja, are you here? If you would like to ask your question, but the question is, Padmaja.
Why don't you read it out, Farah?
Yeah. I'll read out her question. How are they going to convince the slum dwellers to involve themselves in this project? And how much support are how much government support are they getting? Because in many cases, it's very hard to convince both the government as well as the slum dwellers, and it takes an extremely long time to get permissions for that particular project that you were suggesting.
Right. Yeah. So very valid points. It does take a long time to get permission. However, we think that people will see the value of developing on their own if we show them what's possible. There's also numerous examples across the country where this has been done. I didn't show it in our slides, but in Ahmedabad, in Pune, even in Bombay, Spark has done a lot of work in upgradation of slums. So it's not that this idea is new. I think if they realize that the trap they're getting into if they go for an SRA scheme, and the density and what it's going to lead to, that is, if they're shown that clearly and they see that, this whole thing of free housing is just sounds so tempting. But if they see what they're giving up their health, they're giving up their social structure. So yeah, it will involve NGOs talking to people, taking this message across, being on the ground. But once we can convince one or two people, the way Pranav managed to get one flyover developed and people can see it. Once that happens, then these things take a life of their own. So it begins with an idea, and then it takes one example for people to see, which are actually there. We probably need to film those and show people that there is an alternative available to you. Yeah, and it will mean going and speaking to people a lot. It will take time, but I don't see any other option.
Do you think, sir, that for a city that is so densely populated, it would be possible? How long would it take?
Well, they're already living there, right? So the density is already there. So we're not really, so by this method, we're actually, as compared to the SRA, the density is much less. Right? So the density is really not going up much. And how long it would take, I don't know. I think the SRA will continue. Maybe some other people will come up with other methods. So maybe there need to be 3 or 4 ways rather than the government saying there is only one way, which is the SRA. They maybe let slum dwellers, the families, choose which method they want. Some may go to the SRA, some may choose to do self-development, and maybe we can come up with other models as well. This would be only one of the models, but it will certainly speed up the process. It should slow it down.
Okay, sir, I mean, any of you can answer this question, but what should ideally be the blueprint, or the way forward for creating urban forests or increasing the green cover in the city? Like, for example, Pranav gave a very nice example of creating open spaces. How can we move towards and create green spaces or increase the, create urban forests in the city?
Farah, I'll just, there was this very nice objective listed in Anirudh's presentation, and I would have actually liked to see more of that, where he's mentioned about bringing urban nature into the city's visible spectrum. So I think that is really what needs to be done. I mean, it's not that we are any short of nature or natural features, but we don't even know. Like I routinely do this exercise when the first year group of students joins architecture, and I give them a map of Mumbai, and I give this whole list that I had put up in my presentation, and most of them are not able to mark, where is the national park and where is the Poisar River and where are the Vikhroli mangroves. So it's about awareness. I think we need to protect what we have rather than think of increasing something which it's already there. We need to take care of it first. So
Okay.
yeah,
Ma'am,
one
there's
can
one
do. So aesthetically, yes, one can have roof gardens and terraces and grow your own food. That's wonderful. That at a personal level, one should definitely be doing all of this, composting wet waste in the house. But I think this increasing green cover, we should first respect what we have.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think we should actually stop cutting down these trees that we like thousands of trees being cut down. Like instead of that, we should look at it as that is what exists. Now, when we have mangroves and all these areas, you can easily do mangrove walks in them, which then protects it also instead of walling them in. That's what the government agencies want to do, build a wall around the mangrove, which is I don't know where did they even go to school or what? Like let people go inside it, let them walk around. That way they get an idea of what it is and why it's valuable. Now once they're inside it, it's become a nature park like the national park. And now you can't start encroaching on it because there's people looking at it. I think it's the same thing all over the country. Everywhere it's walled in, and that's why we're losing all our green spaces.
Yeah,
Okay.
and just to add to what Shilpa and Pranav are saying, and underline another point that Pranav made, um, that we need to participate at our local levels. We need to participate, be aware of Shilpa's being aware of what we have around us, um, making sure things aren't destroying, and wherever possible, through local initiatives, the way Pranav's office did, um, do whatever we can for the neighborhood. But really, first thing is that we need to participate. We're a democracy, and we forget that it's the citizens who have to participate to make the democracy work. That's key.
Well said,
Yeah.
sir. Ma'am, this question is specifically been, directed towards you. Something which we are currently talking about, but that person is asking that a lot of Mumbai, people who come to Mumbai, they come because they want to make money. Okay, they either come to study to make money and things like that. So people who come here only and reside here temporarily, how do we create a belongingness, within this temporarily existing citizens who are just coming in here for a few months or years?
You mean belongingness, or you actually mean a sense of responsibility? I think
Basically,
they're already coming here because they want to be here. So I think after they
yeah,
come here, they need to take care of the city as their own. So I think belongingness is, I don't know, is it a right? Pranav, I think, wants to say something. I think there's a very
Yeah.
thin line between what is right and what is responsibility. And by right I mean hak. So if you want to live in the city, you need to make it your own and take care of it, and same thing, participate in making it your own. So Pranav, I think you
You
wanted to
know,
say something.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's this like terrible depravity all over the country. You're coming to Mumbai because you think that you're going to make money. You come here and then you realize that I'm going to fall off a train, I'm going to be hit by a car somewhere, and it doesn't feel like your city. The same people, not may not be the same people, but Indian people who go to New York for a month, like, oh yeah, New York is my city. Why? Why is that happening? Or why are they going to Singapore and making it their own city? Any place becomes your own when it is friendly, when it's comfortable. Mumbai is a friendly city, but it is dangerous. And that is something that you don't see when you're here all the time. But it is a difficulty to live here, and that is what is creating this problem. If it's comfortable, it'll be like your city when you come, and you'll want to do what it takes to make it, make it yours.
Okay,
No, I would
To
say
make
before
it
we take,
safe.
Rahul also has
okay,
something to say about it.
yes,
Yeah, so
you were
sorry.
saying?
I think when you're saying belong, there are two aspects here, because anybody who comes here always comes knowing someone here already, right? You know a community, you come, so even so you always come, you have some family member or cousin or someone that you then become a part of their circle when you come. So that sense of belonging is within a micro community in the city. um, the problem I see is that yes, people come from all over, so no one has been. So not so many people have been here for generations that they've got roots. But I also see this as the city and the way it's governed doesn't permit people to participate very easily.
Yeah.
The way our governance structure is, you know, nobody in a mohalla or in a neighborhood is asked by the BMC, what do you need? If we're making the budget for the year, what do you need? So there's no mechanism for participation. So I think it goes back to our governance models and making democracy work better. So first it comes that the people ask for it, and then the government kind of gives back by making it easier for things to happen. But it all starts from people asking for it, and people like us who have the the economic capacity where we can ask, and we know that we're not going to lose anything by asking.
Absolutely. Well said, sir. We will take one last question. Arpita Karbhari Wagmare has raised a hand. Can you please unmute her, and then I would request you to conclude the event with a vote of thanks. Karbhari, can you speak now?
Excuse me.
Karbhari?
Sorry, I'm trying to do it, but
Mm-hmm. Karbhari, can you please type your question in the chat box, please?
I think she should be able to talk now. She needs to unmute. Yeah.
Cadbury, can you unmute yourself?
Karbhari, can I now request you that please send in your questions at my email ID. I will convey this to the panelists and get your question answered. My email ID is,
I
I'll type it.
think
Arpita, you please
you
go
can
ahead and
drop the comment for everybody who could not ask their question. I'm sure there'll be questions from Facebook as well.
yes.
I just wanted to say a vote of thanks to everyone who joined for spending this time. I don't think 1.5 hours in today's world, especially digitally, sitting in one place was easy. You can see I changed my position already. So this has been great. I think we all agree that Mumbai is a city of contrast, and Shilpa ma'am poignantly put it forth with the kind of images she had, where we all agree that, in Mumbai, where modernity and sustainability go hand in hand, is the need of the hour. Only planting trees, making flowers, building metros and railways is not enough. The alternative is very much possible, and Pranav Naik's project very, very nicely, beautifully represented how it's possible. We can build systems which are greener, cleaner, more inclusive, as well as city design overall can be more inclusive and accessible for all. A city where more than half of the people are slum dwellers cannot ignore their health, their demands, their comfort, for sure. And we must by now, it's been decades, and we must by now consider the well-being of the entire city overall. And I believe equity in a city should be a rule of thumb, and not something that we realize after making several mistakes, which Mumbai has already made. And growing forward, um, in our city, like Shilpa ma'am again reminded, protection and preservation really of existing green spaces is essential, which starts with recognition that they already exist. We live in our concrete jungles, we live in our flats, we live in our own homes, especially now during lockdown, and we seem to have gotten more and more distant from nature. And we need to go back to nature, and we need to see around us, especially now that the skies are bluer. Green is ever so beautiful. City has enough wetlands, city has quite a lot of mangroves. While they have declined, but we still can stand up to protect. It is about time, and I will go back to the point put together by Sir Rahul Kadri when he says that we are living in a democracy. It is still possible for us to wake up. The question is that more woke, sort of more educated people who have access to these platforms start questioning the system and start coming out with solutions which are very easy, which are doable, which are sustainable in the long run, that Pranav sir's project exemplifies. And we will be sending these links. I have also done some live tweeting. I hope we connect again. Please do share your questions if you feel like they were not addressed. Once again, thank you for your time. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Arpita. Just give me a moment,
Sure.
please. Like Rahul Kadri sir said, that people's
Yes,
participation is a must, and that we all need to put in our efforts. So here's an online consultation for all of you Mumbaikars to give your inputs for open spaces, for green spaces across Mumbai. There you go. Here's the link in the chat box, and all the students whose submissions have been selected, and the two students who have been presenting, who got a chance to present today, we will be sending your certificates via post, and you'll receive a soft copy by email shortly.
That's
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
All the
you.
best to all of us. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.